missions and those linked to government-owned enterprises. An aggregate expenditure of 10.33 trillion naira is proposed for the federal government in 2020. The expenditure estimates include statutory transfers of 556.7 billion naira, non-debt recurrent expenditure of 4.8 trillion naira, and 2.14 trillion naira of capital expenditure, excluding the capital components of statutory transfers. Debt service is estimated at 2.45 trillion naira, and provision for sinking fund to retire maturing bonds issued to local contractors is 296 billion naira. The sum of 556.7 billion naira is provided for statutory transfers in the 2020 budget and includes A, 125 billion naira for the National Assembly, B, 110 billion naira for the judiciary, C, 37.83 billion naira for the Northeast Development Commission, D, 44.5 billion naira for the Basic Health Care Provision Fund, E, 111.79 billion naira for the Universal Basic Education Commission, F, 80.8 billion naira for the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, which is now supervised by the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs. We have increased the budgetary allocation to the National Human Rights Commission from 1.5 billion naira to 2.5 billion naira. This 67% increase in funding is done to enable the Commission to perform its functions more effectively. The non-debt recurrent expenditure includes of 3.6 trillion naira for the personal and pension costs, an increase of 620.28 billion naira over 2019. This increase reflects the new minimum wage, as well as our proposals to improve remuneration and welfare of our police and armed forces. You will all agree that good governance, inclusive growth, and collective prosperity can only be sustained in an environment of peace and security. That said, this administration remains committed to ensuring that the inconvenience associated with any fiscal policy adjustments is moderated, such that the poor and the vulnerable, who are most at risk, do not bear the brunt of these reforms.
This function, being the first in the 9th session of the National Assembly, makes it even more significant, as both the legislature and the executive have demonstrated readiness and commitment to work together in order to pass the 2020 budget in a good and desirable time. Clearly, this effort is to enable the federal government provide those laudable objectives of physical infrastructure and socio-economic services to our citizens.
President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, he has just read the contents of the 2020 appropriation bill, and now he has laid the 2020 appropriation bill before the joint session of the National Assembly. Well, they say the taste of the pudding is in the eating. And there we can see members of the National Assembly well acknowledging the dexterity and optimism and quiet commitment exhibited by President Muhammadu Buhari. Well, the president has actually explained that the 10.3 trillion naira budget of the 2020 is definitely going to achieve and ensure strategic growth in the Nigerian economy. Well, the budget is based on oil benchmark of 57 United States dollars